Folks.
Yeah, sorry for the kerfuffle.
Welcome, everybody. You are tuning into Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. And
Corey. That's me.
Yes, that's you. We're broadcasting live on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. And we also live stream a week in advance of the radio show on our Facebook group and on our YouTube. And then we also post the radio show as a podcast on my website, drlesliephillips.com. Now, if you are a new listener to Unlocking Your Truth, let me explain. Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And every week we have a different topic under that umbrella. And for today's topic, I asked all of our followers to make some suggestions. And I asked them to choose from some topics that are in the first section of my new book. So my new book is called Intuition and Chakras, published by Llewellyn, and it's available for pre-order. So today I announced that it's possible to pre-order the book, and that if you do pre-order the book, then you can claim a package of digital swag, which includes extra material that didn't make it into the book. So there's a bunch of things. There's this really fabulous infographic, and as well as that, there is another book, which is a psychic ability quiz book. Anyway, so I thought it would be really great, because I'm celebrating my book today and all of that, to choose a topic that's in the book. And I asked people to choose from the 7 chapters that are in the first section of the book. And I'll just say them out loud for any followers who didn't see that post who are listening live right now. So the first section of the book is just painting a picture about intuition and your energy. So one of the chapters is on intuition. Another one is on life purpose. Another one is on the energy field or your aura. Then there's an introductory chapter about the chakras, although the whole second section of the book goes much more deeply into the chakras. And then chapter 5 is blocks to intuition. Chapter 6 is beliefs about intuition and what might be correct or incorrect about those beliefs. And then chapter 7 is about why develop intuition in the first place. So out of all of those, what people voted for was to do the show about what blocks intuition. So thanks to Jennifer and Azalea for asking us to talk about what blocks intuition, which I absolutely will do that this evening. But I also want to say, if you are listening live on the Facebook or the YouTube channel, then you feel free to ask questions about any of those other things that I just read out about. Okay.
Dr. Leslie, actually, I have a question already about your book from Callie. She wants to know how much it is in US funds.
I think it's $17.99 in US funds.
We'll have to wait till the publisher gives us a firm on that, though.
Well, they've given it to me, and I mean, I can find it exactly by just, there's a link on my website basically that will take you to the page.
Well, I'll check it out then.
Yeah, if you go to the book page on the website, Corey, and then click on the Llewellyn link in there, it will take you to their sales page. And then that will tell you exactly what it is. Thank you for asking. All right, so tonight is a topic that I know a lot of people really want to hear about. And we have talked about it before because it's very, very popular. Because when you start to want to develop your intuition, you encounter all of these blocks and barriers, and it's very easy to get frustrated and not really know what to do about it. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how or why intuition becomes blocked. and how to overcome it, and how to really identify what's blocking you. And I'll just talk from my experience working with lots and lots of people, probably thousands of people over the years that I've been doing this. And in no particular order, these are really common blocks that affect everyone. And then if we've got time, we might talk about some specific blocks that just vary a little bit depending on what psychic ability you're talking about. The first thing is everyone's busy. Everybody in their modern existence is really busy. So people's lives are packed full of their job, their family, all the other things they do, their hobbies, needing to exercise, needing to go grocery shopping, and you name it. And unfortunately, developing your intuition does involve setting time aside to focus on it. It does involve a degree of commitment and also repetition. So I always say you wouldn't join the gym and not go to the gym and expect yourself to get fit. So developing your intuition is a bit like that. If you just say, well, I want to develop my intuition, and then you wait for it to happen, well, you might get some intuitive insights here and there, but it's a very different experience than if you really dedicate time and energy and focus to developing your intuition. So I think the number one block is people are really busy and they're really spread thinly. So they find it hard to commit time every day to focus on developing their intuition. And so that's number one. It's almost universal. Now, another block that I think is really, really common is, and I mean, all of these are kind of related in a way. And so the next one is having untamed thoughts. And it's probably partly a facet of being super busy, that your mind is crazy, right? You've got your to-do list that's constant. Oh, I've got to get this done. I've got to go here. I've got to go there. I've got to pick the kids up from school, and you've got your to-do list. You've also got your mind going off in random directions, who knows why. And then add to that, we're often thinking about something that happened in the past. Why did I say that stupid thing to my boss at work? Oh gosh, beat myself up about that. Or the future, because I've got this deadline I have to meet next week, and it's all consuming to me. So the monkey mind, having untamed thoughts, is a huge barrier to developing your intuition. So part of the process of developing your intuition, in that time that you set aside to dedicate to developing it, is find a way to tame your thoughts, to empty the mind, to clear the mind space, so that your experience isn't being dominated by all of those random, untamed thoughts. Okay, so number one is that we're all really busy. We have a lot to do. Number two is busy mind. And they're actually related, because, we think we're really busy, but we're often not as busy as we think we are. Because if you just consider what I just said, if your mind is doing somersaults, thinking about the past as well as the present as well as the future, in the present moment, your energy is scattered into the past, and it's also scattered into the future. And so you've got illusion that you are busier than you are. Well, I just have to have a shout out to one of my old school friends, Stella. It's really great to see you, Stella. So glad that you joined. We are talking about what blocks intuition. And I just was talking about how we're all so busy in our modern life. It's really hard for people to set time aside, and you need to do that if you want to develop your intuition. But also having what I call a monkey mind, or what the Buddha called a monkey mind, that the mind is always, it can often be so busy with all these random, untamed thoughts jiggling about. And the thing about that is those thoughts are the opposite of intuition. Those thoughts are coming from your brain, from your physical nature, from your body level. Your intuition comes from who you are as spirit. It comes from your higher self, your higher being. So if your focus and attention is on the random thoughts in your mind, then it is not in the space that it needs to be in to tune into the still, small voice of your intuition. All right, so number one, being busy. Number two, monkey mind. The third one, again, they're all interrelated, is the emotions. So if you are, I mean, some people call it being empathic. So if you're like an emotional sponge and you're sucking up everybody else's emotional dramas, if you're the friend that everyone goes to spill their emotional problems onto, if you're in a constant state of emotional overwhelm, if your emotions are like a roller coaster ride going up and down, if you're constantly being triggered by other people or triggering other people, then that is also going to interfere with your ability to connect with your intuition. And once again, the reason is the emotions come from the body. Your emotions are how your body communicates with you. And you are not your body, you are spirit. So the body is kind of like your it's your vehicle for experiencing this life through. And the emotions are a bit like the dials on your dashboard while you're driving, or about to be out of fuel, you know, or whatever else, you know, the door's open. The emotions are telling you, I'm enjoying the reality that I'm in, or I'm not, you know. And so part of developing your intuition is developing being above the emotional levels, developing some mastery over the aspects of the physical body. So learning how to be in the eye of the storm. So the emotions can be going on all around you, but if you've ever seen a tornado or a hurricane, if you can get to the eye of the storm, then there's stillness and there's calm. I mean, there's cases of aeroplanes that have driven through them, and there's lots of turbulence as you drive through, but when you get to the center, then there's absolute calm. So in order to access your intuition, you need to be in the center of the eye of the storm. You need to have a perspective that is not being tossed around by the emotional levels. So that's the top three. So busy that you can't put time aside to dedicate to developing your intuition. Your mind has random, untamed thoughts, and your emotions are overwhelming you. They're all aspects of physical life and the physical body. And
I think you've hit the nail on the head for a lot of people. Time and
yeah, those are the top three. I have a whole list of more of them. which I will go through. I guess we've got time for one more before we go to the commercial break.
Oh yeah, we've got another 3 minutes if that works for you.
So my next one, and actually somebody posted on the Facebook group about this today as well. They said, I'm trying so hard. I'm reading these books. I'm practicing every day. I'm, big list of what I'm doing. And why then am I not getting the results that I expect to get? And my answer was, so read what you've written in your email, because you use the word trying hard, multiple times. And so the next one is, if you are in effort, that is a sign that you are approaching your spiritual development and your intuition development from the body. Everything the body does requires effort, right? To speak, to move my arm up and down, which I seem to be doing a lot. It requires fuel, it requires effort. Everything the body does requires effort. Nothing that spirit does requires effort. Okay, so if you're using effort, that is a big clue that you're approaching your intuition through the body instead of directly as the spiritual being that you are. Or if you're in resistance, you feel like you're trying really, really hard, it doesn't work. Now, it's not a surprise that we all do these things, because it's the way that we're trained, isn't it? We're trained when we're little to work really hard, to work hard at school, to try harder, to put some effort into things, to use your brain, to really think, and to fill your life with all of these important things. So we shouldn't be hard on ourselves that we're doing these things. It's really not a surprise. We're all programmed that way. But the key to developing your intuition is to deprogram yourself from that, is to overcome that programming. All right, so I think this is a good time for a commercial break. Listeners, you've been tuning in.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, you've been tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. Tonight's show is about why or how our intuition becomes blocked. We will be back after these messages.
Yay.
All right, so I'm going to go back to the show in a few.
We felt the internet fell out for a couple of seconds there.
Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
Hello, everyone.
Tonight's show, if you're only just tuning in, is about how and why intuition becomes blocked. And I chose the topic because you wrote in and asked me to talk about that topic. Because today I'm celebrating the launch of my book, which is called Intuition and Chakras. And I gave people a choice out of the first 7 chapters in the book, and chapter 5 is blocks to intuition. And so if you are somebody who really wants to develop your intuition and you feel like you're not moving along as you'd like to, I really recommend that you get a copy of the book, really, because it's going to address specifically what these blocks are and specifically how to overcome those blocks.
So intuition blocks aren't things you play with, right?
No. Not gets that joke. He's thinking about building blocks.
Yeah,
maybe
to build houses and stuff.
Instead of developing tarot cards, I should develop some intuition blocks for people to play with.
Oh, for kids, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, so back to the topic.
It is on the topic.
What's blocking your intuition? And before the break, we talked about 4 different reasons why it might be blocked. You're busy and you are running around and you're not finding time to set aside to focus on it. Your mind is untamed. You're not in control of your thoughts. Your emotional life is overwhelming you and you are not able to rise above your emotions. and you're getting into effort. The next one that we'll add to this list, there's a few different words we can use to describe it. Ego, competition, perfectionism, and expectations. They're all kind of part of the same category. And so, and what I mean by it is oftentimes students will compare themselves one to another. Even if you're not taking a class, if you're reading a book or you're watching a teacher on YouTube or you're talking to your friends about it, we'll often say, well, that person seems better than I do at this, or, oh, I think I'm doing really well because I'm better than them. So we pitch ourselves one against the other. And again, it comes from the way that we've kind of been trained to approach life in a way, but it really doesn't make sense when it's applied to your spiritual involvement, to your awakening, and to developing your intuition. And I'll explain it from this perspective. Every single one of you is completely unique. There is no other version of you. And together we make a whole, but none of us has all the answers. Each one of us has a unique perspective. And that unique perspective is part of the cosmic consciousness, part of God, whatever name you call that, source energy. It's part of all that is, and it is meant to be there. And so I have my unique perspective, and every one of you watching has your unique perspective. And we're each on our own path of awakening, which is unique to us. And here's a good analogy. It's a bit like if you think of an orchestra. Let's say I play the clarinet. And, you know, Kaylee, who's watching, she plays the violin. Well, it wouldn't make sense for Kaylee to try and play my part, which is the clarinet, or for me to play her part, which is the violin. If either of us did that, then the piece of music we were playing would be discordant. And that's what competition does on a spiritual level. It puts the harmony of our species, or it puts us out of harmony. So we're each meant to rejoice in ourselves and our own uniqueness, and also to accept where we are at any one point in time along the path. Okay, so when you get into competition, then it blocks your development because you are trying to be like somebody else, or you are judging yourself for not being good enough. And in either of those cases, you're not seeing yourself as you are, and you're not seeing other people as you are, and you are not in a state of acceptance. So I'll just make a comment on perfectionism, because one of the people watching said, well, perfectionism is my demon. Yes, and perfectionism is a form of competition, right? And we can be in competition with ourselves, you know, as well. Like, I'm here, but I should be here. I'm at point A, but I should be at point B. What is wrong with me? Because I'm not there, I'm here. And again, we're not accepting where we're at. And in order for you actually to move from A to B, you have to first accept that you're at point A. Otherwise, you're in resistance. And if you're in resistance, back to the effort, it's not going to develop in the way that you'd hoped. So that's my fifth one. You know, ego levels, competition, perfectionism. We could add unworthiness to that, low self-esteem. There's two sides to the perfectionism coin. One is I think I'm better than everyone else, and one is I really think I suck and I really, you know, not as good as everyone else. And either one of those is not in reality, actually. All right, my next one, fear. And fear is a big one. And I could do a whole show on what are we afraid of when it comes to developing our intuition. In fact, maybe I will do a whole show on what are we afraid of when it comes to developing our intuition, because there's a lot of things that we can be afraid of. And I will try to list a few of them. So fear of failure. We were just talking about unworthiness. You know, what if I can't do it? What if I can't do it right? What if I fail at this? I can't bear to fail, so I won't even go there. What if everyone else calls me crazy? You know, there's not too many people in the world that really validate this intuition stuff. And so, you know, you go to this place, you may encounter people who think that there's something wrong with you, or judge you because it's the work of the devil, you know. And so being afraid of what other people think, and being afraid of how your relationships might change with people you care about. It's a bit like coming out of the closet. As a gay person, you know, I'm a secret psychic. You know, maybe everyone will stop loving me. Maybe I'll be ostracized from the group if I do that. Another fear is the power I unleash. I can't cope with my own power and brightness. Other people won't be able to cope with my power and brightness. I'll be alone if I do it, because there'll be nobody else that will be able to meet me where I'm at. So that's another one. I will experience pain from my past, because if I open my intuition, then I'll start seeing myself. I'll start seeing everything that's happened to me. I won't be able to hide or deny anything that's going on within me. And I'm a bit scared to go to some of these places that I've ignored, that I know I need to heal. So that's another fear. What if I see something scary? Like actually, somebody actually posted in the group today, maybe we can put that in the questions, Corey. They said that they've been invaded by spider beings. So put that on the questions. But what if I see something scary, like a spider being, a snake being, a demon, some other evil thing? I'd rather not go there in case I see something like that. Or what if I have a premonition that somebody's going to die, or a disaster is going to occur? Do suddenly I now have responsibility for what I'm seeing? That's another fear. And then maybe another one is maybe I really will lose touch with reality. You know, maybe I will go into a reality that is so far away from this one that I will be kind of considered a bit crazy and actually, you know, not be able to live in this reality anymore. So there's lots of...
We have a couple of comments from Callie, if you're interested.
Sure.
She says, perfectionism is my demon. Stella says, me too, Callie. And whenever I watch this show, it's always unplanned, and Dr. Leslie always speaks to my heart. It's crazy. So do you think that people can see when people are spiritually awake?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I
think we could probably go a little further than yes.
Okay, so the question, do you think that people, so the people who can see when people are spiritually awake are the people who are spiritually awake? Right? So whatever level of consciousness you have, you are able to perceive at that level of consciousness. And so if you're an unconscious person who really doesn't believe in this stuff, then you're not going to see people who are spiritually awake. You might project onto them that they're crazy or some other judgment, but you will not see them clearly. If you are spiritually awake, then yes, you will be able to see other people who are spiritually awake. And, you know, it's also true, it's only possible that you can if you see something in someone else, you are seeing yourself. So if you look at somebody and say, wow, she's really awakened, or he's really on his path, you wouldn't see that about them unless you could also say that about yourself. And none of you watching this or listening to this would be here unless you were an awakened and awakening individual, right? You wouldn't be at the frequency band to be a match to even make it to listen to a radio show like this. Okay, I hope that gives a thorough answer to that question. So I'm going to go back to my list of a million things. One more thing to say on the fears, and they are, I mean, a lot of those fears, you can understand where they come from. Nobody wants to be alone. Everybody wants to be liked. Everyone wants to belong, and all of that. And nobody wants to experience pain. Another fear that I kind of mentioned, but could go into in a bit more detail is well, actually, I didn't mention it at all. Fear of, I kind of alluded to it. Most of us who are in this realm of being interested in this stuff have had past lives where we've been on this path. Historically, people have been punished in some quite scary ways, right? If you were in the Middle Ages, you could end up in the Spanish Inquisition or on a ducking stool. You know, or if you were in the 1700s, you could end up at the Salem witch trials or whatever it is. And so people often have a fear that is actually coming from a past life where they were punished for having these kinds of abilities. But if, you know, let me tell you, fear is the lowest vibration in this world. Love is the highest vibration. Love is, it's the highest vibration. Fear, it's the difference between, I don't know, not exactly a good analogy, but steam and ice. Steam, the energy is moving, communication is happening. Ice is frozen, it's stuck, there's no movement. So if you're in fear, you are stuck, you are blocked, you are not moving forward. And so if you're noticing that you have some fears, just ask yourself, well, how does that really serve me? And how does that really serve the world? It doesn't. It doesn't serve you or the world, because you're here because you're meant to express the unique spark of divine consciousness that you are. And if you're doing it, but not doing it as you are meant to be doing it. Okay, moving on from fear. It's related to one of the ones I was talking about in the beginning of the show, but it's slightly different. So we talked about the monkey mind. So now let's talk about the intellect. We're so trained in our intellect to think logically, to weigh up the pros and cons of things, aren't we? Especially in the Western world, we're sort of channeled down this very narrow thing, you know, of the intellect. And that's great. The intellect is the highest vibration of the physical body. You can get a lot of things. Your intellect can take you quite far, can't it? You know, we've all got jobs in the world, or I used to have a job. And
you still do.
I still do, but not based on my intellect. But
taking care of me.
Yeah, the intellect is what, you know, enables people to get jobs in the world and things like that. It's great. However, what happens when you're wanting to access your intuition is the intellect will go, I'm making it up. It's not real. I'm imagining it. Maybe it's my mind. Maybe it's my emotions. Maybe it's my ego. I don't know if I should believe this, because the intellect is what causes you to doubt yourself. And the difference between the intellect and the intuition is the intellect is linear. The intuition is multidimensional. The intellect operates on a process through time of working things out. The intuition is instantaneous, right? So there's no time for your required for intuition to develop. It's just right there.
But there is time for a break.
We'll go for a break, yes. But what will happen is the intuition drops in, and then the intellect starts to analyze it, and then you've lost the intuitive insight. Well, listeners, you've been tuning into Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey, and we've been talking about blocks to intuition on tonight's show at the listener's request. We'll be back after these messages. Hello, people who just joined us on Facebook. I'm just going to wait a moment and then we will resume the broadcast. If you've just tuned in, this is where we're pre-recording the radio show, so we pause every once in a while for pretend advertisements to happen.
Station identification. Go for it, Leslie.
Okay. Welcome back, listeners. You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey. Tonight's show is about how or why does our intuition become blocked? And it was requested by some of our listeners in response to a call I put out to say, which chapter in my book do you want me to talk about tonight? Because today I'm celebrating that my book is coming out, published by Llewellyn. And yeah, I wanted to tell you all about it and say that you can pre-order it and get some extra stuff if you pre-order it before the proper launch date. Anyway, tonight's subject, how and why the intuition becomes blocked. And we've talked about 7 different things: being too busy, being not in control of your thoughts, having random thoughts, being in emotional overwhelm, getting into effort, getting into competition, and being afraid and operating from the intellect. And the next one, I guess it's not really a block, but it's a block to benefiting from your intuition. Because we could overcome all those blocks that I talked about in the first part of the show and still not benefit for the intuition, because you have to listen and act upon it. And that's another place where people get stuck along the way. Because, you know, what if your intuition tells you, change your job, leave your marriage, you know, some big decision like that. It can be scary to act on your intuition. So another way that intuition gets blocked is that you're aware of it, but then you ignore it and you don't act upon it. And then the final one, it's more like a conglomeration of everything that we've been talking about, but it's really important. And I'll just go back to what I was saying at the very beginning. If you want to develop your intuition, you have to make a commitment to yourself. You have to carve out time in your life to focus on it. Because, you know, all of those people that you see like me who are doing this in their life, we've made the commitment and we've done the work to arrive at that place. And so it's important to be committed to your intuition. So you have to prioritize it. You have to have a meditation practice. You have to be willing to invest your energy, you know, be willing to invest your energy, your time, maybe even some money to help you to move along in the way that you want to. So it takes commitment, it takes focus. And then, you know, the other part of the question that was posed to me that inspired this show is, well, then how do we overcome, how do we remove the blocks? And basically, it's the opposite of all the things we've talked about. Don't be too busy, carve out time. Tame your monkey mind. Learn how to be above the emotions, get out of effort, get out of competition, let go of fear, bypass the intellect. And there's one answer to all of it, which is meditation. Now, I would also qualify that and say not just any kind of meditation, right? There's millions of different ways you can meditate. And you'll get different results depending on the type of meditation you choose to do. The type of meditation I teach is based on the ancient mystery school teachings, and it involves ways of working with energy and ways of focusing your consciousness that are geared to activating your intuition and helping you remove the blocks. And there are many of those techniques are in the book, Intuition and Chakras. And so, that's one way to invest in this is, buy the book, because it will teach you what you need to know in order to overcome the blocks. No matter what the blocks are, these techniques can be used to clear any block. But the answer is meditation. And all forms of meditation will train you to turn within, maybe, to quiet the mind, to become the neutral observer of your thoughts and your emotions. But then we want to go one step further than that. And not just necessarily wait for the intuition to drop in, but know how to deliberately connect with the intuition. So I think now we're in the third part of the show. This is really a great time to answer listeners' questions. So I want to encourage you to post any questions that you have. And I do have one question in front of me that somebody posted earlier. And I'll read it out. But in the meantime, Corey, if you have any questions about blocks to intuition, please let me know.
We do have two. You wanted to talk about spider beings also.
Oh, yes. Okay. So thanks for reminding me that. Yeah. So let's approach the answer to that in a couple of ways. And I don't want to add more fear to people, right? Developing my intuition is the best thing I ever did. Going on a spiritual path is the best thing I ever did. It changed my life completely. Now, there can be things that you encounter along the path that challenge you to up your game, that challenge you to get a higher level of seniority. And so one of those things is that, yes, there are entities and beings that are not necessarily benevolent that you can encounter. And so the lady that wrote to me was talking about spider beings. Spider beings they're kind of astral beings, and the history of them is they had their own planet that they destroyed, and now they're these parasitic entities that basically travel the universe and try and find a home. And it's possible for, people to get invaded by them. And, there's two ways, and depends on you and your stage of development. I can't remember the lady's name that asked this, but a really great way to clear these things out is running your Kundalini energy. But if you don't know how to run your Kundalini energy and you have no experience of that, then I wouldn't recommend it. Another way is to come to somebody like me who can remove them for you. But again, I would just say you can learn how to do that yourself, and you can use even the energy techniques in my book to clear unwanted energies from your space. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the other question.
Is this the one about life purpose?
Yeah, do you want to read it?
Yes, that's my job.
Okay.
What I do. I look forward to it. Okay, it's about life purpose. It's a complex question, and I ask myself all the times. The deeper I get, the stranger the possible answers. Tomorrow is the anti-bullying campaign day. What is life purpose of a professional bully? Those who train themselves into the art of bullying by picking on the weak, like the wolves do for survival. Are the bullies designed to help the ecosystem select the strong ones who have social skills to help them defend themselves, or who have physical strength to fight back, like in the animal world? I am talking about bullies who appear to come from generations, like they have the genetics for that.
Thank you. That's a really great question. I'm going to attempt to weave it into the subject matter that we've been talking about today. So, what is a bully and why does somebody bully? Being a bully is usually tied to low self-esteem and competition levels, and a belief that says that there is a hierarchy and that I somehow need to be on the top of the hierarchy, and therefore I must destroy other people so that I can be on the top of the hierarchy. And yes, I think this question came from George. Yes, George, yes, it can go through generations, because we are, you know, when we arrive as babies, there's the parents that we get, and the parents that we get kind of indoctrinate us. This is how the world works. This is what I believe about the world. And so we take on their beliefs. So maybe, you know, one of the parents is a bully, or maybe the opposite. Maybe the parents bully the child so they feel unworthy, so that then when they go to school, they bully other people in order to feel good about themselves. So bullying is based on lack of self-worth and lack of self-esteem. Yes, it can come through the ancestral line from generation to generation, or it can come from something that has impacted somebody in the present life. But either way, it is based on low self-esteem. And then to tie that to, like, what is the life purpose of a bully? The life purpose of a bully is to realize that they are worthy. Realize that they are worthy and that everybody else is worthy. So to go beyond the belief that one has to be pitched against the other, to go beyond the belief of competition levels, to go beyond the belief that, you know, I'm unimportant, my life doesn't matter, and I have to hurt other people in order to feel good about myself. So it is to transcend the pain of unworthiness is a major life purpose of somebody who is doing bullying. That's what I would say. And all of us on a spiritual path and developing our intuition, part of it is, I always say that it's developing your intuition is a dual path with healing yourself. And another way of saying healing yourself is deprogramming from the beliefs, the limiting beliefs that you have, the low vibration beliefs and behaviors that you are engaging in that keep you from your true self. So being a bully isn't, the bullies, so you said, well, what's the purpose of a professional bully? Being a bully isn't their life purpose. Transcending being a bully is. I hope that makes sense. So
Yeah.
we might have
It
time.
makes sense, Dr. Leslie. One of the things that you didn't touch on is the other side of it. Actually being bullied teaches those victims, or if you want to call them victims, it actually expands on their intuition, because they sort of, oh no, here we go again type deal. It's
yes, exactly. And that's a good point, that if you've got two people in an interaction, in this case, we're talking about bullying, right? So there's also a purpose in being bullied.
Yes,
And
there is actually.
it's the same purpose. It has to do with self-esteem and self-worth, right? And realizing you are worthy, and you know, realizing that your true essence is love and light, and transcending that set of circumstances.
Yeah, I was bullied quite a bit when I was a child. I mean, I'm really badly, and I found that it gave me. It wasn't pleasant. Don't get me wrong, and I have my heart goes out to anybody that is any way, shape, or form being bullied. But I was bullied, and soon when I broke out of that situation, it was really an amazing, emotional, cathartic event, and to realize that that those bullying days were completely over, that I now took control of my life. And what happened was I stopped being bullied by everyone.
Exactly. And that's the perfect example, because you attract the circumstances that you're a vibrational match for. So if you're attracting a bully, then, you know, there's something inside of you that if you change it, it will change what's being attracted into your life.
People won't like that. People do not like to say that they're attracting being bullied, because being bullied it is terrible, and it goes to the end. It can go to the length of being abused as well, especially when it's at home. And so, you know, but yet you're right. They're victim. We are all victims by choice, in essence. Again, people will not like that because they'll.
No, they don't. And I mean, we're talking on the show about what can block you from developing your intuition. Somewhere down the list is being in a victim mentality. You know, oh, things never work out for me. Oh, I don't know. I don't have enough money to take a course or buy or whatever it is. Or, you know, my life sucks and I'm a victim of circumstances. Well, anytime you're being a victim, you're forgetting one of the core truths of this existence, which is you create your own reality.
Well, yeah, but you can also be in that situation. You know, when you think about it, you can also be in that situation as a spiritual learning situation that you came to this lifetime to experience, and yet it's not about necessarily creating wealth. You know, I'm broke. It's not about creating wealth. It's about understanding yourself even in poverty.
Yeah, the example I gave was just specifically applying to intuition development, I guess.
Well, we're almost ready to call it a night. It's we've got basically 1 minute left. So if you want to give any closing remarks, Dr. Leslie, we'd be happy to hear them.
I don't know within 1 minute whether there's closing remarks, but what I would say is that you're all spirit, you all have intuition, it's who you really are. And to develop your intuition really involves getting out of your own way and clearing the ways in which you're blocking it, because it is there. It is there as a core of your being. Your intuition is spiritual communication. You are spirit. It's how you communicate as spirit. So you can do it. It's part of you.
So maybe you want to give some more information about the book, where to get it and things like that.
Go to drlesliephillips.com, and under the products tab, the top thing is the Intuition and Chakras book. And on that page, there are listed where you can buy it from: Amazon, IndieBound, Barnes & Noble, and Llewellyn. If you go onto any of those websites and search for the book, you should find it.
And again, the price is $17.99, which we'll have to put on the website when we get a second.
It's available on Kindle for $9.99 as well. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next Tuesday between 7 and 8 Pacific time. You've been listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
Okay.